So I'm going to get started now, and my name is Sue Thompson. I work in the northeast of England as a farm discovery coordinator and I'm on the fundraising team, and I'll be chairing the webinar today. I really want to thank you for joining us today. I know firsthand what the pressures are on teachers about the workload during a normal term time and how enormous that can be, and these are not normal times. I hear how exhausted you all are and how relentless your days are. And remember, this is a long, dark half term leading into Christmas, and there are so many other pressing matters on you, from data drops and planning and staff meetings, and even just the endless cleaning that I know that you're involved in at the moment. So from all of us here at the Country Trust, we salute you. So today, our aim is to leave you feeling a little better informed about what we've been up to at the Country Trust, about our health and safety protocols for farm visits, and we want to introduce a new programme to you. Some of you will have heard of it before or even taken part in it, but we're really excited about it and we want to tell you a little more about that. And we hope that through our speakers that we can inspire you to bring learning about food, farming and the countryside into your classrooms again. So the format for this afternoon, I'm just going to show a slide now of the range of speakers that we have and some roughly approximate times alongside them. The webinar this afternoon should take about half an hour. We might run over a little bit at the end if there are lots of questions, and if you can stay with us, that would be absolutely great. So for any questions that come up throughout the afternoon, there's a Q&A box at the bottom next to the chat. So if you use the Q&A box, those questions are being monitored by Claudia in the background, and we'll try to answer as many as we can. We might combine some of them which have a similar theme. I'd also like to let you know that we're going to record this webinar and we'll send you a link later so that you can share it to colleagues. You can watch any parts again that you might have missed, or if you have to leave earlier, then you can catch the tail end of it. So thank you very much. So panelists, please remain muted now. I'm going to let each speaker know when it's their turn to talk. There might be a slight delay as we transfer between each of them. So my first speaker I'd like to introduce is Jill Attenborough. Jill Attenborough is the CEO of the Country Trust, and she's going to give us an insight now into the work we've been doing in the last few months. So thank you very much. Over to you, Jill.
Hello everyone, I'm Jill Attenborough. I'm Chief Executive of the Country Trust. Thank you so much for joining us today. Our mission as a charity is to help disadvantaged children learn, grow and thrive through high quality food, farming and countryside opportunities, helping children acquire new knowledge and skills, be inspired to want to learn more, to make connections, to feel confident to try new things, to discover they have agency and are important participants in the world around them. But what really hit us during lockdown is that we can't do any of those things without teachers and without farmers. We held a webinar for farmers in September to give them the confidence to open their farm gates again to school visits and to encourage them to participate in our new programme, Farm in a Box. And the response has been excellent. Farmers have just loved seeing children revelling in the fresh air and the wonder of their farms again. And they've been really excited to be present in the classroom through live links. In the background, we're working hard to try and influence agricultural policy so that as many farmers as possible are able to welcome children to their farms in the future. But what about teachers? You are the most important influence in children's lives outside of the home. So you're key to our programmes having outcomes that have lasting impact. We've been torn between not wanting to bother you at a time when you're not only becoming social service providers, as well as having to deliver education in an entirely new way, and wanting to ensure that our offer helps to meet your objectives and priorities too. We're really grateful to those of you who've been working with us over the summer and beyond to try and get that right. And now, 3 months on from the start of the new term, we're very confident that we can offer you safe programmes, both on farm and in school, that will support the curriculum priorities that you highlighted to us, so maths and literacy, but also help to support language and communication skills as well. The feedback we're getting from teachers is that Country Trust days are just full of talking, full of children talking to each other, describing things, reasoning, asking questions, investigating. They're full of questions for farmers and they've got so much to tell their parents at the end of the day about what they've seen and learnt and done. And we've heard that all this talking has led to unprompted writing as well, which is great. And it's been great to see the positive impact on well-being for children as well, and for teachers and for farmers, and definitely for our staff too. Connections have been forged and relationships have become stronger, and it's made us all feel really joyful, actually, to have it all up and running again. And thanks to our supporters who've been amazing, as a charity, we're in a strong position to continue to offer you our programmes in the year ahead. We have some gaps in our team to fill, and we still await news from government that residentials can resume, hopefully from Easter. But our farm discovery, our food discovery, and our farm in a box programmes are available to you now and getting rave reviews. Over 300 children have been back on farms this term so far, and over 1,000 have taken part in Farm in a Box days. We're going to hear more about this now. So thank you for the outstanding work you're doing as teachers, and we very much look forward to working with you in the months ahead to help your children learn, grow and thrive.
Thank you, Jill. So our next speaker, our keynote speaker, is Professor Mick Waters. Mick is an honorary fellow of the College of Teachers, and he supports several educational causes. He is the Professor of Education at Wolverhampton University, and he's held posts with the Qualifications and Curriculum Authority. He was Chief Education Officer in Manchester, and he's led the school improvement initiatives in Birmingham. He was also a head teacher of 2 successful schools and has worked in initial teacher education. He's currently helping the Welsh Government with their reform programme for education. So I'd like to hand over now to Professor Mick Waters.
Well, good afternoon. It's lovely to spend a few moments with you. Did you like the picture on the front? It was on the front of the book. It was lovely, wasn't it? I always think my mum would have liked that. What I'm going to talk with you about is very briefly the benefits you can gain from the depth of involvement with the Country Trust that maybe you're seeking because you've got to this webinar. As Jill was saying, what the Country Trust does is try to help children understand aspects of farming, food and nutrition. And I think it goes further than that. I think that from the experience I've seen, children gain an understanding of the beauty and the wonder of the world in which they live by spending time with farmers or on farms. And what that helps them to do is to see how the farmer is almost bringing the science alive through very, very hard work, and they're linked with nature, trying to create a world of food and production for all of us. Now, I know people in schools, mostly in schools, want children to enjoy a rounded education. They do understand that exams and tests are vital, as it said in that questionnaire at the beginning. Some of us are driven by the tests and exams, but actually what we also know is children need introducing to a local and a national and a global world so that they build the skills, the understandings, the knowledge that will take them forward in life. And that does mean taking them out into the real world so that when they're in that real world, they see how it unfolds in front of them. And so they see almost the world of work in very many forms around them. And we want children, don't we, to think they can make a difference, to understand what's happening and believe they've got a voice because they've understood at first hand things that affect their lives. And I also think that one of the top things we want for every child is a joyous childhood, a joyousness in what they do. And I know that the Country Trust experiences give children that opportunity. What we also know is that some children are almost born to succeed. Obviously, they need to work at it, but some children are more advantaged than others, and some children are disadvantaged in the circumstances in which they find themselves. And no doubt, many of you from schools that grapple with the challenges that, if you like, children bring to school. The children don't know they've got the challenges, but they challenge us in helping them. And associating with farms, either through the box or through the visits, will give children the chance to understand a little bit of that history, geography, science, curriculum that we're trying to teach, but also give them that fascination with the world of learning. They might understand about the way the seasons overlap and intertwine. They might see these farmers giving nature a helping hand through the husbandry of the crops or the creatures that they tend. They'll see how farming has become increasingly technical, or they might learn about how historical development in farming has brought us to where we are now, and the mechanism is so different from what it was just 50 years ago. They'll see farmers at the mercy of the elements. I mean, the floods at the beginning of this year were a real challenge to crop producers and to people who are looking after livestock in an incredible way. And this need to get production and yield. Just think about the mathematics and the work you could get from talking away. Farmers have to get the best benefit from every acre and every square metre of land. And on top of everything, they'll get caring for the living countryside, the joy of plants, of being with people who care about the world in which we live. And of course, another aspect of the Country Trust is the food and foodstuff regime. How do we get from the raw material, the food, to the refined product? And is the refined product always the best product, or sometimes is the natural product the best thing for us to eat? They'll learn a little bit about the elements of cookery, or how cookery has become increasingly technical and how it's evolved and developed over time, and yet some basics are still there as they were in the Middle Ages. And they'll learn how people who cook are also economically conscious. You've got to think about the cost of the ingredients and where they go. On the top of it, they'll enjoy the taste of beautiful food and learn how to make taste in the way they cook. And so what the Country Trust does is opens children's opportunities while still giving them what I call the basics. I've always believed that children need the basics in education. Politicians say to me, what should every child get? What's the basics? Do you believe in the basics? And I will say, yeah, I believe in the basics. I think every child should experience the dawn of the day. I think every child should experience the power of the weather. I think every child should see the bird on a wing, you know, and to enjoy the opening of a flower and the stars in their universe. They're all things that we would want children to explore as basics. And so the Country Trust gives you the opportunity to go on a visit or to bring the visit to you through a farm in a box. And I would call them all education visits, field work, on-site visits, study visits, educational study visits, anything but a trip. I think education does itself no service by calling such experiences trips, because that implies it's a day out and it's a bit peripheral. I think what the Country Trust does is absolutely central. And if you're a really good teacher and you want your children to experience the best they can, then get associated with the Country Trust in a really big way. The work they've done to make sure that visits are really safe, that you can have opportunities where you can be confident the children have got everything that's needed to make the visit a success in safety terms and COVID terms, linked to what we want for our children, gives you the opportunity to be the most professional teacher and for every child in your care to learn. Thanks for listening to me, and enjoy the rest of the webinar.
Thank you, Mick. What a wonderful recommendation from someone we respect so much in the education world, and we'll probably put you on a poster. Thank you, that was wonderful. If you've got some questions for Mick, Mick has a wide range of experiences and knowledge, so please use that Q&A box at the bottom, and we'll be coming to questions at the end of the webinar in about 10 minutes time. And I noticed that we've got one already from Hallam, so I'm saving that one for Mick first. Thank you very much. So our next part of our webinar this afternoon, well, we all know the risk of transmission of COVID. We're all worried about our own health, our families, as well as the longer and wider lasting impact on society, on our economy, and on our futures. So we take the health and safety issues on farm visits very seriously, and we have considered them during the planning of our visits. I'm going to hand over in a moment to Mary Hext, who is the Farm Discovery Manager. She's been working very hard to make new protocols to give you the confidence to come back out on our farm visits. And for the purposes of this being a recording, today, the 1st of December 2020, she's going to provide you with an overview of the Department for Education's position and on our own position for farm visits. So now, without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Mary Hext.
Hey everybody, thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Sue, and thank you to Mick for that brilliant recommendation. My name's Mary, and I'm proud to work with our team of coordinators all over the country, who you probably know as the face of the Country Trust. As many of you do know, I deliver farm visits in the Northwest,
and in North Wales. So I am very aware of what happens during a visit on the ground as well. The next few minutes, the aims are to give you a little bit of understanding about what we offer the schools now in the new normal. I will say it is a learning curve for all of us, but we are fully committed to working with teachers and hosts to support you to provide the best and the safest visits that we can, and the most fun visits. So please do feel free to give feedback to us to enable us to provide you with this service as you get involved in our visits and we move forward. So, as many of you will know, we offer 4 different tailor-made programmes for schools. And I'm pleased to say that just like these children who were jumping for joy on a visit a few weeks ago, we're also jumping with joy, because all of our programmes, with the exception of residentials, are now all fully back up and running. Hopefully residentials, we've just heard over the weekend that they'll be back up, hopefully in Easter. So thank you to any of you who have taken place over the last few months. So I'm going to concentrate on food discovery and farm discovery visits over the next few slides, and then Katie's going to talk a little bit more about Farm in a Box, which is our new virtual experience. Okay, so let's start with the guidance. There's so much out there, it is quite confusing, and there are quite a lot of unknowns that are circulating. Just a side note, for anybody who's based in Wales, you will know that the guidance in Wales is very slightly different to England. If you are in Wales, I'm going to talk about English guidance here. If you're in Wales, I will talk to you before any visits that you book, and we'll make sure that we tick the right boxes. So the government guidance is currently schools can resume visits. Even during the second lockdown, visits have been able to take place, providing there are COVID secure measures in place at the destination. And for food discovery sessions, schools can continue to engage peripatetic teachers, which food discovery coordinators come under, provided they also comply with the COVID arrangements in school. I'd like to take this opportunity to refer you to the excellent guidance provided by the Outdoor Education Advisors Partnership, and Claudia's just posting a link now in the chat. It is on a slide at the end of the presentation, so don't worry about scribbling it down, but they have some brilliant guidance and we do also follow that. Thanks, Claudia. So what does this mean for us? So we are currently working with schools to deliver farm visits and food discovery, cooking and growing sessions. And now more than ever, we are seeing the benefits of our work, the joy of discovery, the opportunity to explore and experience new things. And they're so priceless for children that have missed out so much during this last year. So these are some photos. You can see the children taking part, and the above can only happen provided that all parties, that's the school staff, the farm host, the country trust coordinator, any volunteers involved, are satisfied that the risk from COVID to everyone attending the visit or the session is acceptable. And also provided that nobody is displaying any signs of COVID symptoms on the day. So our COVID secure guidance is available on our website if ever you need to have a look at it. And again, Claudia's putting another link in the chat for us now. So you can see in these photos that a lot of COVID secure measures are in place, with visors being worn, social distancing in place. However, more importantly, these children have been able to enjoy the simple joys of splashing in puddles, running across fields, picking fruit off a tree, grooming a horse, and the benefits to mental health that we're seeing are so heartwarming to watch. For any schools that aren't able to engage with visits at the moment, we do have Farm in the Box virtual experience, or any schools that would normally be on residentials, you are able to access the Farm in a Box experience. Can we go to the next slide, James? Thank you. So the question that you all want to know, how do we do this? How will we do this? So firstly, your local coordinator, as normal, will be your main point of contact. They will provide guidance on your local restrictions, which tier you're in, what we can and we can't do. And they'll also make sure that nobody involved is displaying any COVID symptoms. They will also be in contact the day before the visit, so please do provide mobile phone numbers for them to get in contact where possible for any last minute changes. and they'll be on hand to work through your visits step by step with you and with your host to make sure we're offering a safe but fun and engaging educational visit, as we always do. So schools have, and hosts, very different interpretation of the rules. We've all seen it. Everybody has their own slight take on it. So because of that, pre-visits are essential and mandatory for every single visit. So we would expect you to come out to the farm to meet us, to meet the farmer. And then we would talk about the visit, and we would tailor-make the visit to your needs to make sure that everybody is happy. It is also important that following that pre-visit, that any decisions that we make are documented in everybody's risk assessment, so including in your school risk assessment, to show that we've taken into account any COVID changes that are needed or discussed anything that we need to do. So things that we might discuss, and it's not exhaustive, this list, are things like extra hand washing. You're doing extra hand washing in school. We'll probably do extra hand washing on visits that make you feel comfortable. We're good at hand washing anyway, it's what we do. However, the frequency might increase, or we might decide to use hand gel at slightly different points. We might talk about lunchtime and toilets. Who, when will they be cleaned? How will they be cleaned? And we might also agree, well, we will agree to ensure that the school has exclusive use of any facilities that you use. We might talk about face coverings. Generally outside, it's normal not to wear them. However, if you feel that you want the coordinator and farmer to wear them, we will do so. And if we go into a shed, we will wear them then. However, we do need to discuss any additional needs of your children to make sure that with lip reading and autism, wearing face coverings aren't barriers to inclusion, and we will take this into consideration. Or we might find ways that we don't have to enter indoor space. Wherever possible, we are trying to book your visits in your local areas where possible. And our coordinators have been really busy over the last few months trying to find new hosts within local areas, because we feel that this could also be a benefit. So visits will have to change, and there are lots and lots of different ways to do this. And with a little bit of floor, as you've done in school, we do feel that you'll be able to come out and attend visits, or we'll be able to come in and run school sessions. Everybody will feel comfortable in the knowledge that everyone will be safe to participate. And there's some photos here that show how that can be done. However, I do want to be clear, visits and sessions will still be fun, they'll still be engaging, they'll still be interesting, educational and hands-on where possible. They are such transformational experiences for some children. And at the moment, they do provide much needed activities, and we will work with you to make sure that the right activities are in place for your children. So in summary, we're used to maintaining good hygiene on our visits anyway. You need to coordinate with your Country Trust coordinator and find out which hosts are suitable, which hosts are happy to offer visits in your area in the new normal. Please do book your visit as soon as you can. We are expecting quite a high demand this summer, as people who missed on visits are trying to rebook, and also people who have just heard about us and are interested in the work we do. It would really, really help coordinators if you can get your bookings in and express interest in dates as soon as you can. But obviously, we are all aware that they could be subject to change, and that's fine. Once you're penciled in, it's a lot easier to change it around than before you are. You will have to attend a pre-visit, and you do need to provide contact numbers. Activities are likely to change, but we still aim for fun, hands-on, engaging experiences. And visits will not go ahead if anyone shows any of the COVID-related symptoms. We do have to accept that things will happen that are outside our control, particularly with COVID. And if this happens, we will just postpone visits, because maintaining everybody's health is really, really important to us. So as promised, there's some links here for further information. Should you need it, there's the links to the government publications, and also our links and the Outdoor Education Partnership. So thank you very, very much to each and every single one of you who have supported us in the past and in the current situation. and for listening to me today. We truly appreciate it. And as Jill said, we can't do our work without you. I'll continue to support the coordinators with visits as well as delivering my own visits. And we will be watching with really interested eye what's happening across the country. I look forward to hearing about all the great experiences that you and your children, the ones who've missed out so much in the last year, will have. If you do have further questions, please do ask them now in the Q&A. Alternatively, please feel free to contact your coordinator to discuss. Thank you all so much. I'm going to leave you with some quotes that we've received from teachers around the country about our work in the last few weeks and months. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Back to you, Sue.
Thank you very much, Mary. So as Mary said, if you've got any questions about health and safety, about pre-visits or anything else like that, pop them in the Q&A. We'll come to those in a few minutes. We're just going to do a quick flash up poll. So James, get ready with pressing the green button. You've now heard from Jill and Mick and Mary. Do you feel confident to book a visit? Yes, no, or maybe? So that's the poll that's coming up. Take your pick. And then while you're doing that, I'm just going to let you know that the next and final part of our webinar is the Farm in a Box project. I'm going to introduce you to Katie Watts, who's our project manager behind this. Again, a brilliant idea. It's been so successful so far. I delivered my first one last week and it went down so well. I'm really thrilled about this. So over to you, Katie. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sue. Hello, everyone. Lovely to be with you all here today. As Sue said, I'm Katie and I'm the project manager for our brand new programme, Farm in a Box. And as you've already heard from everyone today, our mission at the Country Trust is to bring food, farming and the countryside alive for children. And there is no better way to do that than actually getting them out into the countryside and onto farms. So for those of you that are able, we are still absolutely recommending farm visits. And as Mary has shown, they're completely feasible and really safe. They just might require a bit more planning than usual. But if you aren't able to leave the school grounds, then we've developed the next best thing, which is Farm in a Box. Farm in a Box does what it says on the box. It's a box filled with farm-related activities put together by us, but delivered by you. The boxes are themed, so we have a Seeds We Eat box, a fruit box, a vegetable box, a sheep box, a dairy box, a beef box, a mix of them all box. And we're also in the process of developing some activities to do with pigs, chickens, and some on climate change as well. But an important point is that Farm in a Box isn't a replacement for a farm visit. It's more like a taster or a pre-visit ahead of the actual thing. Which will take place whenever it becomes possible. And the idea is that you will end up visiting the same farm as the one that your box comes from, so that you develop a really strong connection with the farm and the farmer, which will really enrich the visit once it happens. In terms of what's in the box, you will get a personalised video from the farmer, which showing the children around the farm and telling his story. And obviously that isn't technically in the box, it will be emailed to you by the coordinator. So James, if you could just play the video.
Hello St Gilbert's of Sempringham Primary School and all of you in Caterpillar class. My name is George and I'm one of the farmers here at Bothorpe Park Farm. We are a mixed farm here at Bothorpe, so we grow both crops and we have animals. The animals, we have pigs, sheep and cows.
So you can see there the kind of video that you'll get from the farm. Obviously they'll all be different depending on which farm you're paired up with. And then you also get up to 6 activities, which come with detailed activity instruction cards that look like the one on your screen right now, which are very similar to kind of lesson plans. They've got extension activities on them, a bit of an overview and introduction, so you can link the activity with some context. And then within the box, you'll also get all the bits and bobs to deliver the activities, many of which will come from the farm itself. The activities in the box are mostly outdoors, they're hands-on, sensory, exploratory. They've been designed really carefully to help the children foster a connection with the farm, with the farmer, to learn where their food comes from and how it's produced, to take part in outdoor learning, to look with fresh eyes on familiar surroundings, to develop new vocabulary, and much, much more. There's so much to the boxes. In terms of how it works, it starts with a conversation between you and your local country trust coordinator. Since you're here today, the chances are you know who that is, but if you don't, let us know and we'll put you in touch with the right person. So much like with a farm visit, the coordinator will chat to you about your pupils, what interests them, what specific needs they might have, what they've been learning about, what, if any, outdoor space you have. Some of our schools don't have much, some have lots. We can work with either. And then we'll recommend activities to you based on this conversation. And then we'll book a day to deliver your box to you and a day in the future for your farm visit as well. The farm in the box is designed to be a special event. So once you have the day booked, you can start getting the children excited and prepared. You might want to suggest they come dressed as if they're going to a farm. One school had their children dress up as farmers, which was lovely. Whatever, just to make it feel like a really special event and experience. And the day before or the morning of Farm in a Box Day, the coordinator will deliver the box to you. Now your coordinator will be available to answer questions and support you throughout the process, but this drop-off provides a really good opportunity to run over activities and talk about how the day might run. And then it's over to you for the delivery of the activities. We've suggested a day, but you might want to spread the activities over a longer period. Some of our teachers have done that because the children have become so involved in one particular activity and enjoyed it so much that they've just wanted to keep going with that and not move them on too quickly. So we leave that up to you entirely. And if it's possible for you, if you've got the technology available, we'll arrange for a live link up with the farmer on the day as well after all the activities are finished. So that the children can tell the farmer what they've learned, what they've found out, and ask any questions. And this has proved to be a really, really popular part of the day and a really exciting moment for the children. And then once you've completed the activities, you fill in the evaluation forms and send them back to us. And your coordinator will also have a bit of a phone call with you to talk things through in more detail about how they've run. And then that's it until we see you at the farm. Now, earlier today, I spoke to a teacher of a Year 5 group from a school in Essex who'd had a Farm in a Box delivered in the last couple of weeks. And I just thought I'd share a bit of the feedback with you. So she was really, really complimentary of our levels of organisation. She had been a bit concerned about whether she would be able to deliver the activities, whether she'd have the agricultural knowledge and the kind of background knowledge to do them justice. But she said that the support she got from the coordinator meant that it was really easy, and the level of communication from the coordinator was brilliant as well. She loved the variety of the activities in the boxes and getting the kids outside. She said that was absolutely fantastic. She could see they were really engaged and that they were really, really enjoying everything they were doing, which made it a joy to teach them that day. And she said she really mentioned the live link and said that the children were so excited all day that they were actually going to get to speak to the farmer. And at the end of the day, they had loads of questions for him. And I've got a couple of letters here that the children wrote to the farmer after the experience, which kind of sum it up better than I could really. This is from the children to the farmer. Dear Spencer, I'm writing to you because I would like to thank you for organising our Farm in the Box Day. I really enjoyed the activity called My Sense of Place because I got to explore different spots and to find my calming place. I think that might be my second favourite activity because my favourite was edible plants because I got to try vegetable crisps. I learned that sometimes you can't always have an easy time farming, and it's actually quite tricky. I also learned that you can't always do what you want to do because of the weather. I also enjoyed our Zoom chat because I loved meeting you and your dog. It was so fun to see that your dog Barney helps you around the farm, and your special place is so cool because you can see the whole farm from there. I loved your special place. And then the second one, dear, also to the same farmer, dear Spencer, I'm writing to say thank you for coming into our school, which I thought was lovely because the farmer didn't actually even go into the school, but it felt to this child like he had. Thank you for our Farm in the Box day. I loved it when we ate your vegetable crisps and the beetroot juice. I enjoyed looking at the vegetables. I'd never tried half of them that you gave us. I really enjoyed the Zoom chat. We asked Spencer a lot of questions. I loved Spencer's dog, Barney. Barney is a really good sheepdog. And so on and so on. So just absolutely lovely from the children in their own words there. If you have any questions about Farm in a Box, you can pop them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen now. And we'll answer them in a moment. Or if you'd like to inquire about a Farm in a Box, then get in touch with your coordinator. And if you don't know who that is, you can message us and we'll introduce you. And a bit like Mary said with the visits, please do begin, if you want to do it, begin to book or think about booking now, because demand is getting quite high for the boxes, as you can imagine. And there is a bit of a lead time to put them together as well. So if you want a Farm in a Box, let us know now. And that's all from me. Thank you very much. Back to you, Sue.
Thanks very much, Katie. I was going to do a quick flash poll again, and it's just about how you feel about Farm in a Box, having heard about it. So Jim's going to pop that up now. And while you're looking down the options, I'm just going to have a quick look at the questions on the list. I had a couple of questions that came in before the webinar, which I will also pose. I'm also conscious of the time. It's TikTok, and I bet the cleaners hoovering around your feet out there, so I won't be long. Now, the first question has come in from Hallam Mills, and this is for Mick Waters. And he says, Professor, have education observers noticed that children have changed their behaviour because of the stresses of COVID? And how can society help? Thank you, Mick.
It's a good question, and it merits a very long answer, and we haven't got time for it. But the basic message is that there is some research, but not a lot, partly because researchers are struggling to get into schools at the moment because of the restrictions. The pandemic has affected lots and lots of children, a large proportion of children. It's affected the less well-off more than the well-off. Children generally are picking up tension in grown-ups and realizing that there is a deal of uncertainty about the whole setting at the moment. Many children have experienced sadness, and obviously that has an impact, and that of course has an impact on their friends and other people in their family. So overall there are some negatives. There is a change in children's behavior that is positive. One of the things that emerged when children were in lockdown and doing work on screens, if you like, was that a lot of youngsters were downloading work that wasn't for them, and they were downloading work that was aimed at children who were supposedly more mature than them. So that children in year 4 were downloading stuff for year 6, and year 6 is for year 9s, and having a go at it and doing very well apparently. So it's an unresearched area, but the research is growing. And you know, just walking around in social groups that are different, facing the front all the time, not being allowed to move, is bound to have an effect. And schools, I think, are playing an incredible job, and people generally are very, very respectful of what schools are doing. Look, I think that's probably enough, and I'm sorry to be so brief, but I hope that does answer the question. I saw it before and thought what a good question it was.
Thanks very much, Mick. Maybe that's the subject for your next book. Thanks very much. So a question came in from a teacher called Becky in Newcastle. And I think you might be one of mine, Becky, if you're out there. She says that my days are non-stop from 7:30 a.m. until after 5 every day. Is it possible to do a pre-visit for a farm visit at a weekend? Now, if you are one of my teachers, Becky, I'm going to say yes, I will happily do Saturday mornings or whenever you want. But I'm going to hand over to Mary to answer this properly, because she'll speak more from a larger coordinator point of view. So over to you, Mary.
Thanks, Sue. So all our coordinators work to their own work patterns, so it is entirely up to them whether they can fit you in. Most will be as accommodating as they can because they realise the benefit of pre-visits. If you can contact your coordinator and ask them, but give them as much notice as possible. So saying on the Thursday, can you do Saturday? You may find that the answer is no. But generally, yes, they will do everything they can to accommodate you, and you'll need to agree with them. They also can fit you in during your PPA time. So if you let them know a couple of weeks in advance, the chances are that they might be able to find a time that they can be there and you can be there. The only thing I would say is that I suggest that you visit the farm in the daylight, and we are losing daylight, obviously, straight after school at the moment. It is quite hard doing pre-visits on farms in the dark if you can't see everywhere that you need to go.
Thank you, Mary. And I have one last question, unless any more have come through. This one is for Katie Watts. So how much does it cost for a farm in a box? Thanks, Katie.
So the farm in a box is completely free, providing you meet our criteria, which is higher than average free school meals. So yeah, free.
And we all like something free, don't we? Thank you very much. Katie, I don't think there are any more questions coming through at the moment. If you do have any, obviously contact your coordinators at a later date. So I just want to say, first of all, thank you to our speakers. Thank you very much to Mick for joining us at a very busy time for you, and for everybody else's contributions this afternoon. It's been great to hear you all. I'd also like to thank you, our amazing teachers. Without you, there would be no Country Trust, and we appreciate all that you do. I hope that you do feel a little more informed after this afternoon's webinar. I'm very sorry to have kept you a few minutes longer than we promised, but if you do want to get in touch with us, there's going to be a slide at the very end which has got a catch-all email address on it, or you can contact us directly. So I hope you will have a really good end of term. Please complete the last poll that's popped up on screen now so that we can help you in future. And have a restful Christmas, have a nice time, and hopefully we will see you all bright and refreshed for a better new year and some outdoor space and outdoor fun on our farm visits again in 2021. So please feel free to log off now, and thank you so much for joining us. Goodbye.